Well, thank you. It's good to be home. Look, and it's good to be back here at SK Siltron. This is all about the future. This is where we're doing great things for our region. And it's really good to be here, of course, with President Biden and with Governor Whitmer. Mr. President, as you know, Michigan's leading the way. We're creating good-paying jobs. We're doing it right here. And we're strengthening American manufacturing thanks to the really good work that we've done together. The pandemic taught us a lot. It taught us that we cannot solely depend on other countries for critical components in our economy, like semiconductor chips, for example. We saw what the effect of the loss of those critical elements were to our economy in this region. Families felt it. And that's why Democrats and Republicans, some in Congress, worked together with this administration to pass the CHIPS and Science Act by incentivizing companies to create or produce chips right here in Michigan, not overseas, but right here in mid-Michigan. This new law is fixing our broken supply chains, lowering our costs, and most importantly, this is strengthening our economy and strengthening American competitiveness. This new law is benefiting workers and benefiting businesses across our whole state, including right here. After the CHIPS and Science Act was signed into law, SK announced $300 million of expansion right here in this facility, creating good jobs right here in Bay County. This expansion has solidified mid-Michigan's position as the leading location for advanced manufacturing investment. We're the leading location for that. Look around. We're seeing it happen all around us. One of my top priorities in Congress has been to make sure that we manufacture things, that we make it in America. Looking at this facility again, I was here before with the governor just a couple of months ago, we see that there's a lot happening. The critical parts that go into the next generation of electric vehicles, for example. It's clear that Michigan is going to be in the center of the automotive universe, where we belong. Right, friends? With this new facility, we are once again, a century later, again, putting the world on wheels, and in this case, electric wheels. So I want to first start by commending SK Siltron for deepening its commitment to this region, to this part of the state of Michigan, to our communities. And for President Biden for having the leadership and the vision to see this policy through and actually now be here to see it implemented. People often say that Washington is broken and we can't get together and do things. But look at what we did with this. Democrats and Republicans, led by this president, investing in our own future, claiming our own future, creating our own future. When we do that, there's no limit to the good that we can accomplish. There's no limit to what the people and the workers of this region can create. President Biden saw that. SK Siltron obviously is investing in it. And this is what happens when a country decides to have an industrial policy that puts its workers and its local businesses first. This is a success, and we all share in that. And thank you, all of you, for allowing me the privilege of continuing to work for you. Thank you so very, very much.
Please welcome Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
It's great to be back here at SK Siltron. Well, it is great to be back here at SK Siltron, and I want to welcome the president to be here with us in Bay City, Michigan, where things are happening, right? We are, of course, celebrating Michigan's manufacturing growth and economic momentum, bolstered by the game-changing bills that President Biden signed into law. And we are here at SK Siltron's new $300 million facility in the Great Lakes Bay region, a place with legendary manufacturing heritage. For over a century, Michiganders have been making some of the world's best cars within an hour's drive of here. And now, SK Siltron is building on that rich past by betting on Michigan's bright future. One of the world's leading semiconductor wafer manufacturers, their products are the building blocks of electric vehicles, solar panels, phones, and more. And we have to acknowledge Hemlock, which is not far from here, and I see some of my friends from Hemlock here too. I can't miss your jacket, you know that, right? So SK Siltron chose Michigan because of our effective partnership. As the CEO of SK Siltron CSS put it, the support that they received from the state of Michigan was, quote, truly unmatched. Our partnership led them to choose us over several other states that were in the running. They picked us because we have the workforce, the growing economy, and the business-friendly environment to help them thrive. And SK Siltron knows the values that guide their work: reliability, quality, performance, can be found right here in the great state of Michigan. We hustled hard to forge this partnership, and I know it will pay off for decades to come, for future generations to come in Michigan. But more than anything, I am proud that this investment makes a real difference in people's lives, because that's what this is all about. People like Brian, who is an R&D tech at this facility. This gentleman, Brian, was born and raised right here in and around Bay City, and it's his home. And he knows that the work he does right here in his community and the people around the world rely on SK's products. He has a good paying job with great benefits right near his family in his hometown. And isn't that what we all want? To do meaningful work close to our loved ones? I don't know, maybe it's too close to the holiday to answer that yes, right? Now that promise is what helped Michigan build the middle class. It is exactly that kind of work that guides the work of leaders like President Biden and Congressman Kildee and the work that we're doing at the state of Michigan. We want to work together to ensure that everyone has a great quality of life and a good cost of living. And that instinct drives local efforts, like Saginaw's ISD's Youth Ambassadors. All right, now that's a scholarship and leadership development program for local students, and it results in game-changing progress for the American people. By staying focused on the fundamentals, we are getting things done. The bipartisan infrastructure law is helping us fix the damn roads, protect clean drinking water, and connect homes to high-speed internet. And the Inflation Reduction Act will lower costs on everything from prescription drugs to health care to energy and bring $8.3 billion worth of clean energy investments to the state of Michigan. And of course, we're here at SK Siltron And I want to highlight the bipartisan CHIPS and Science Act, which is bringing the supply chains home, cutting delays, cutting shortages, cutting costs, and unleashing the power of American manufacturing to help us land more projects just like this one. We all want the future of chips and cars and computers and clean energy to be stamped with the words that make us proud, made in the USA, and better yet, made in Michigan. The CHIPS and Science Act and companies like SK Siltron are making that future a reality. Now, I believe in Michigan, and so does SK Siltron, because we know what we are capable of here. We are a hub of manufacturing and a magnet for bipartisan progress. And thanks to leaders like President Biden and Congressman Kildee and so many other local partners, we have the resources to achieve our ambitious goals. Let's keep listening, let's keep working together, and let's keep getting things done and keep moving Michigan forward. And with that, it is my honor to introduce our next speaker, who's going to introduce the President, Jeffrey Xavier Dukes from UA Local 85.
Hello, my name is Jeffrey Dukes, and it is an honor to be with all of you today, this afternoon at SK Siltron in Bay City, Michigan. I am a fourth-year apprentice pipe fitter with the UA Local 85 and Michigan Pipe Trades. I am from just down the road in Saginaw, and I'm happy to be here. The United Association represents more than 362 members with over 12,000 right here just in Michigan. We do make a difference. We are replacing pipes, delivering reliable energy, and building the future of Michigan. A lot of you might not know this, but we go through a 5-year registered program. We earn full rate wages and benefits, and we learn the skills from the best trained craftspeople in our industries. For me, it's about having a career in private and providing for my family, and one day hopefully to retire with some dignity. Through the union, we are also getting the training to build and maintain state-of-the-art facilities like this SK Siltron semiconductor plant. This plant matters to the people in this region. It's part of a comeback story. After a tough stretch and some tough years, we are seeing companies come back and invest across this region. That means jobs and opportunities. That means I'm playing a role in the technologies here, right in Michigan. President Biden has been committed since day one to fight for the working families of Michigan. And thanks to his leadership, American manufacturing is expanding like never before. There has truly never been a right time to be a UA member or a union member than right now. It is my great honor to introduce you the President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Hello, 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 hello. I tell you what, my mom's looking down from heaven and saying, apologize to these people because you have their back to them. I apologize. I'm talking that way, but thank you very, very much. And I told Jeffrey that I went to a school that had these colors. You guys recognize these colors? Well, my college football coach played at Michigan. And when he made to the Hall of Fame as a coach. But the thing was that here's what he did, I have to admit his front end. I told this to Kildee on the way up. We stole Michigan's uniforms. Same exact uniforms. So that's why the blue and gold. Any of you are state folks, just remember, for all of you looking at the tie, it's Delaware, okay? For you from the University of Michigan, it's Michigan. Hey, it's great to be here. It really is. Jeff, thanks. Thank you, Jeffrey, for your introduction. I really mean it. It's a big deal. And you're a big guy. As I told you, if I had you running in front of me when I was playing flanker back, I could have been an All-American, man. It could have been big. It could have been big. Look, Governor Whitmer, thanks for inviting me back to Michigan. And congratulations on your historic victory. Historic. You stood for jobs, you stood for dignity, you stood for the American worker, you stood up for women's fundamental rights. You insisted on democratic values, and we're seeing here today business leaders at home and abroad recognize the importance of your leadership. And it's not a small item, it's a significant item. And Senator Debbie Stabenow and Gary Peters, both close friends, had to be in Washington today. But I want to say thanks to them because we wouldn't have got half the stuff we passed. And they're true leaders in the Senate and tireless fighters for the state of Michigan. Representative Dan Kildee, we rode up together. He's one of the most effective members in the United States Congress and a good friend. No, he really is. And thanks for your partnership over the past couple of years, pal. I really mean it, and we're doing a lot to revitalize American manufacturing in Michigan and across the country. And Representative Slotkin came up on the plane with me. Is she here today? There you are. I love her. I'm very careful with her because she's former CIA, and I'm really worried. Good to see you. Thanks for your work on so many important issues of the state and everything you do to support service, women and men, and our veterans all over the world. And all those issues that, as my dad used to say, we used to talk about at the kitchen table. They're the bread and butter issues, and you work like hell on all of them, and I appreciate it. And I also want to thank the leaders of SK Siltron, CSS, and I met with some of their folks as well in Korea. They're a first-rate operation, and they're going to create a lot of good-paying jobs here, Rev. They're going to do that pretty soon. I recently got back from a trip literally around the world. You know that around the world in 80 days? Well, I did it in 6. I started off in Egypt and ended up in Guam and coming on home. And we ended with a meeting in Indonesia with the G20, the 20 largest economies in the world. And it was clear in those meetings, and I mean this sincerely, that the rest of the world views the United States as better positioned than any other nation, any other major nation in the world, to lead the world economy in the 21st century. And that's not a joke. Here we have a strong sense of what all the leaders in the world look to us about. They see resilience in the American economy. And we're seeing that here at home as well with investments like we're going to talk about today. Together, with the help of your elected leaders here today, we had an extraordinary 2 years of progress. We passed the American Rescue Plan. Now, everybody knows it, but we did so much, no one knows the effects of it yet. They're just coming into play. What that little plan did with the billions of dollars we spent is it kept tens of thousands of cops, firefighters, teachers, first responders on the job in 50 states because they lost income because of the significant reduction in employment in those states. And it provided them the money to be able to keep everyone employed. We fully vaccinated. When I came to office, there were 2 million people vaccinated. We vaccinated 220 million people, saving thousands of lives. And we're rebuilding our infrastructure. And Governor, we're fixing the damn road. When I came and campaigned for the first time she ran for governor, she ran on the platform, fix the damn roads. It was stuck in my mind. I kept my promise. We're going to fix your damn roads in a big way to the tune of billions of dollars, bridges and airports as well. And we're low on prescription drug costs. Anybody, a senior citizen on Medicare, the fact is that it won't take effect till January 1st, but from that point on, you pay $35 for your insulin, not $400 a month for your insulin. And we're strengthening American manufacturing. We've created more jobs in the first 2 years of any presidency, 735,000 manufacturing jobs. Manufacturing jobs. And we're still counting. And Michigan will once again become the manufacturing hub of the nation. And that's not a joke. Because when I got to the United States Senate as a 29-year-old kid, I had to wait a couple days to be sworn in. But when I got there, this was one of the epicenters of manufacturing. And we're addressing the climate crisis as well. The climate plan we just passed is going to reduce emissions by 1 billion metric tons by 2030. And because of our policies, gas prices are coming down. And what's most exciting about it, people are starting to feel a sense of optimism and the impact of these legislative achievements in their own lives. It's going to accelerate in the months ahead, and so many things you're going to find out what we've already done that we haven't been able to actually implement yet. We're in the process of doing it. And it's part of a broader story about the economy we were building that works for everybody. You know, one that grows from the bottom up and the middle out, not from the top down. When it grows from the bottom up and the middle out, the wealthy do very well. They don't get hurt at all. But working poor folks get a shot, a ladder up, and middle-class folks get a shot, as my dad would say, just have a little breathing room, And that positions America to win the economic competition of the 21st century. My dad used to have an expression, and I mean it sincerely. Matter of fact, it was quoted to me today by one of the congressmen. He used to say, Joey, a job is about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about your place in your community. Literally, not a joke, think about it. It's about being able to look your child in the eye and say, honey, it's going to be okay. That's what a job should be about. And thousands of Michiganders are going to be able to look their child in the eye and say, honey, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Back in July, when the chairman of SK, who's here today, came to the White House, we talked about a $50 billion investment SK is making in the United States. At the time, they wouldn't let me come down from the third floor because I was exposed to COVID. I didn't have it yet, but they were worried about me exposing other people. And so, as he said, it was like Alice in Wonderland. I'm up on the third floor in that balcony and waving to the chairman of SK saying, you are coming, aren't you? You are coming, aren't you? But look, they produce everything from semiconductors, electric vehicle batteries, to chargers, pharmaceuticals, and part of the investment is coming right here in Bay City to produce semiconductor materials for the small computer chips that power our everyday lives. Smartphones, washing machines, hospital equipment, automobiles, just to name a few. They're especially critical for powering electric vehicles, which you can use 2,000 to 3,000 chips per vehicle. And by the way, think about it. General Motors, Ford, Stellantis, all manufacturing electric vehicles made by the UAW here in Michigan. And by the way, if we can hold for a second, the person introduced me. Everybody thinks, because I've been so pro-union my whole career, everybody, and I talked about this with SK in Korea and here. You're the best workers in the world. You're the most, I'm not being nice. You're the most qualified workers in the world. What most people don't know, this man here did not 4 years of college, 5 years learning his trade. 5 years working at it. They're the best in the world. I mean it. Most people don't know it. Most people that think I want to be a pipe fitter, you show up and they give you a wrench. Come on, man, I'm serious. We have the best workers in the world, the most qualified workers in the world. And by the way, you know, the middle class built America, and unions built the middle class. That's a fact. That's a fact. And that's coming from a boy who grew up in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Claymont, Delaware. But I really mean it. We sort of forgot. We forgot how critically important the skill of the labor force we have in the United States of America. We need these chips to make vehicles. SK came along as making the material that goes into these computer chips. So instead of relying on chips made overseas in places like China, the supply chain for those chips will be here in America, in Michigan. It's a game changer. America invented. I reminded the chairman of SK has become a good acquaintance. We invented the chip in America. We invented the chip in America. Then we got lazy. Federal investment helped reduce the cost of creating a market in the entire industry that America led. As a result, over 30 years ago, America produced 30% of all the chips in the world. Then something happened. American manufacturing, the backbone of our economy, got hollowed out. Companies began to move jobs overseas instead of products overseas because it was cheaper for them. That's why it happened. I come from the corporate capital of the world. There are more corporations incorporated in Delaware than every other state in the union combined. And guess what? A lot of businesses got greedy. Go to the cheap labor overseas. Well, now we're sending good products overseas made by first-class labor. Folks, as a result, today we're down to producing only 10% of the world's chips, despite leading the world in research and design of new chip technology. Why does this matter? I had a long meeting with Xi Jinping at the G20. We have met for over 80 hours over the last 10 years. We know each other well. And he's a little upset that we're deciding we're going to once again be, and so are European friends. They're talking about the supply chain. We're going to be the supply chain. The difference is going to be we're going to make that supply chain available to the rest of the world, but we're not going to be held hostage anymore. I mean it. We saw it during the pandemic. When overseas factories that make these chips shut down because of the pandemic, the global economy comes to a halt, driving up costs for families. In fact, 1/3 of the core inflation last year is because of the price of automobiles. They couldn't get the computer chips, so they couldn't make the automobiles, so the price of the few automobiles that are being made went way up. They had to shut down. Workers in the shop floor got laid off. Prices went up because cars were in short supply. The reason I pushed for the passage of the Chips and Science Act was because I knew we could turn things around. I've never been more optimistic about America than I have been the last several years, and I mean that sincerely. Not just here in Michigan, but all over the country. Semiconductor companies are investing literally several $100 billion over the next 10 years. Several $100 billion. The Field of Dreams right outside of Columbus, Ohio. 13,000 employees, 5,000 full-time. You don't need a college degree for 80% of the jobs there, and the average salary is $126,000. Look, a record amount of money to bring chip production back home. That's what that legislation did. We're bringing other key parts of the supply chain back to America as well. Think about it. 10 years ago, how many knew what the hell a supply chain was? No, I'm serious. It's a phrase when I started talking about supply chain, people were going, no reason why they should have been. It's not because they weren't smart. We didn't have to rely on the rest of the world. We led the world. And because of the IBW and I got elected, we're going to lead it again. I mean it. Companies in every part of this country are expanding factories, building new ones to make electric vehicle batteries and chargers, creating thousands of jobs in the process. Folks, where is it written that America will not lead the world in manufacturing again. Where is that written? Now the United States has a top destination for companies across the globe looking to make investments in manufacturing again. They see what I see, what you see. We have world-class, high-skilled, highly committed workers, union workers. Union workers are the most highly trained, highly skilled workers in the entire world. That's not a good joke. That's a fact. That's a fact. Or they're building these factories. They're working in them as well. This wasn't built. This was here. But many of the other places where these investments are taking place for semiconductors are building from scratch. Factories are going to make a big difference. And now, I know many of you who are watching at home are like the folks I grew up with in Scranton and Pennsylvania and Claymont, Delaware. You felt left out for a long time. You used to be really thriving economies. The economy left you behind. The industry that's rapidly changing, you were left out. I understand it. My family understands it. That's why when Cole died in Scranton, we moved down to Claymont, Delaware, which is a steel town. Used to have thousands of workers, 6,000 steel workers. They're all gone now. Delaware used to have the largest percentage of auto workers of any state in the nation. The largest General Motors plant outside of, they're all gone. It's gone. But hear me, we're going to leave nobody behind this time around. Nobody. We're going to make sure all American workers with college degrees and without college degrees are prepared to compete with anyone in the world. We're working with companies and community colleges, technical schools, union-led apprentice training programs to make that happen. In fact, a few months ago, I announced a $52 million grant from the American Rescue Plan, which we passed 20 months ago with the help of your congressional leaders here today. It's a partnership right here in Michigan, including the Big Three and the United Auto Workers, to train our workers, upgrade our factories for the electric vehicle revolution. You know, we were talking on the way up in the plane. We had a little event that your congressman came to. I put together on the south lawn of the White House. In the process, I had the CEOs of all American auto companies. And Mary Barra, the chairman of General Motors, was suing the state of California because they had a higher air quality standard than any other state. And he's arguing it couldn't be higher than the national standard. And we had a little talk. I'm not saying she did this because of our talk, but I asked her what was going on. And about 2 weeks later, she gave me a call. She said, I dropped the suit against California, and I commit to you we're going to go all electric at General Motors. Every other auto company did the same thing. They all stepped up. So just like over the last century, American workers built carburetors, now American workers are going to build vehicles, batteries, and a new clean energy economy. My approach to building the economy of the future is working because of the strong support of your delegation. Our economy grew at 2.6% the last quarter, while inflation started to slow and unemployment stayed low. Here's what that means for folks here at home. We've added jobs every single month of my presidency, 10 million total new jobs, more than any other administration in history in the first 20 months. More than 735,000 of them manufacturing jobs. Exports are up. And I mean this, we're making things here in America, as I said earlier, and we're shipping them overseas instead of shipping jobs overseas. Look, like we've been doing for much too long. Like we were doing before I got elected president. Inflation at the grocery stores, thank God, beginning to slow. Prices for things like clothes, television, and appliances are going down. That's good news for the holiday season. Earlier this month, we saw that the growth price in businesses pay for goods and services is also down. And here's the really good news. They're not down enough in Michigan, but gas prices are down back to where they were before Russia invaded Ukraine. They've dropped $1.50 from their peak this summer. And in Michigan, they dropped $1.60 from the peak this summer. If you're a Michigan family with 2 cars, you're saving an average of $170 a month compared to what you were paying in the summer. That's real money. And across the country, the common price at the pump is $2.99 a gallon. It's much higher here. And the prices continue to go down. This isn't accidental. We've been on this for months. Remember, I got criticized in the face of Putin using energy as a weapon. I took some decisive action. I ordered the largest ever release from the petroleum reserve, 180 million barrels of oil. And I rallied our international partners to come up with their fair share as well. That helped put downward pressure on price because we were producing more gasoline. That helped stabilize crude oil markets and reduce prices at the pump. Now, I've been calling on energy companies who had the biggest years they've ever had in all of their history to begin to pass on those savings to the American people at the pump, or they're going to be coming to them. And while these prices are lower, they're not low enough. I continue to call on the producers to invest their record profits in America for Americans. In America, we can do two things at the same time. We can increase production and lower prices for American consumers and businesses in the short term while accelerating our investment and transition to a clean energy future. And we're going to do that. We're doing it. It's going to take time to get inflation back to normal levels as we keep the job market resilient. And we could see setbacks along the way. But we're laser focused on this. I promise you, we're laser focused on this. In the meantime, for the first time in a long time, we're investing in America and we're investing in ourselves. I signed a once-in-a-generation investment in our nation's roads, bridges, railroads, ports, airports, lead-free water systems, high-speed internet, and the biggest investment in American infrastructure since Dwight Eisenhower's interstate highway system. Nothing's been as big since then. We're building 500,000 electric charging stations across the country. We have the money to do it. The Great American Road Trip would be fully electrified, where your driving costs along the I-10 or I-75 from here to Michigan. We just announced funding from Michigan Tech to help develop technology to recycle batteries in a way that uses less energy and reduces greenhouse gas emissions. We're making the single largest investment ever, $1 billion, to clean up and restore areas around the Great Lakes, including the Detroit River, the Kalamazoo River, Torch Lake. This is going to matter. It's going to matter for your kids and your grandkids in a big way. Mitch Landrieu, the head of our infrastructure program, was just down the road in Saginaw, announcing hundreds of millions of dollars of funding to clean up drinking water across the state of Michigan and replace lead service lines. We're making sure no more Flints ever again. I mean it. No more Flints ever again. We're increasing capacity at the Port of Detroit, rebuilding platforms to handle dry bulk cargo, improving the connection for rail lines so companies making things here in Michigan can get their products to market faster and cheaper. And when you see these big projects in your hometown and cranes going up, shovels in the ground, workers with hard hats, I want you to feel the way I feel. Pride. Pride in what we can do when we do it together. So let me close with this. It's been a rough few hard years for hard-working Americans. For a lot of families, things are still tough. But there are bright spots where America is reasserting itself, and this is one of those bright spots. It's also happening in places in like New York, Idaho, Arizona, Ohio. I asked the CEOs of the Fortune 500 companies a question. When the United States decides to invest considerable resources in new industries that we need to build up, does that encourage or discourage them to get in the game and invest? And the universal answer was it encourages them to get involved and invest. Federal investment attracts private sector investments, creates jobs and industries. It demonstrates we're all in this together. And that's what today's about. I've said for a long time, if we invest in America, we can change this country. We used to, one of my staff, if anybody's tired of hearing me saying it, you know, we used to invest 2% of our GDP in pure research and development. The federal government invested in that. That got down to 0.7%. Well, we used to rank number 2. Now we rank number 8 in the world. What the hell is what's going on? No, I'm serious. Think about it. We can change this country's future. That's what we're doing. And the whole world is looking now to invest here in America again. Again. I've been determined to make things in this country again, to build American manufacturing capacity, and to make sure that we're never again in a position where we were during the pandemic. Some folks didn't believe we could do it, but I made no bones about it. I've never been more optimistic about America's future than I am today. We're building a better America. We just have to keep it going. I know we can. We're proving it's never been a good bet. It's never, ever, ever been a good bet to bet against America. Never, never, never. I mean it. It's never been. We're the only country in the world that every crisis we've come into, we've come out stronger than we went in. Because it's who we are. We just need to remember who the hell we are. We're the United States of America. And there's nothing we can't do if we do it together. So let's keep this going. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. USA, USA. That's a big game, man. When I spoke to the coach and the players, I said, you can do this. They went, they did it. God love them. Anyway, just thought you might want to hear.